a magic show they'll never forget! Watch carefully, it's a good trick!
We are grateful for your patience. Captain Teach and his merry men present to you a stunning spectacle. 1, 2, ta-da!
This is a 3D character demo featured in the official Godot documentation. Let's inspect its approach to animation. The model has lots of them. Does. I assume no exp means no explanation why didn't someone press on this trash can a couple of times. But that's all chickenery. What I want to talk about is this happy little tree. 18% of this tree is logic of the character behavior, its controller. Want to see the future of this project? Let me show you. Yup. But the worst part is, that's not all the character's behavior. This tree is baked, but some scripting hidden inside its giant-ass physics update function, and there will be more if you decide to develop it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 character states roughly equals to 150 strings. Continuing this proportion, you'll need about 2000 strings to fully fledge this character, and it will be hard-coded. I encourage you to desire a better future for your game, and I can show you how. Today, we will transform this capsule into an animated character with basic movement. But first, our perspective on 3D characters can utilize some healthy mind warping. Here I have a GLB-packed 3D model with some animations from Mixamo. Opla, is as that, huh? Well, how many of you truly understand what happened here, and what exactly happens when I make this a local scene? Earlier, I insisted that a player character complies with the MVC architecture, but what about a whole game? Let's suddenly talk about cameras. For a 3D camera, it's very logical to be a part of a player scene. The camera gives us ability to literally see something, so the camera is clearly a part of a view component. Well, camera can be controlled by player inputs and often is detrimental for character behavior like movement direction, so camera is a part of controller? But the movement direction isn't an input field, it's actually a model field, so the camera is a crucial part to simulation and is model. See? Suddenly, MVC approach stopped working. Then, who am I? A liar? Well, I certainly didn't tell all the truth. MVC idea has a younger but more successful sibling. Some call it HMVC and some call it PAC. The core idea is any manipulatable system can be divided not into one model, one view and one controller, but into many components. And the components themselves have inside presentation, abstraction and control layers. For the system to be built properly, components must be encapsulated and only message other components via the exposed control parts. Now, look at these two pictures, please. Yes, Godot's node system can be a very nice implementation of PAC architecture. Camera has traits of all three parts, because camera has them internally, and at the same time it's a part of our character as a component. Now let's backtrack to our character that been made local. It clearly has a presentation layer, the Xbot visuals. It clearly has a model, this skeleton and this animation player. All it is missing is a control part. And the control parts in Godot sense are GDScript files pinned to the top of the scene hierarchy. So the only one thing we need to do is to just slap a script here and we literally have an okayish character to place in a level scene tree. Wait. I clearly demonstrated the benefits of state machine and other nice encapsulation techniques in the previous video. So do we literally need to rebuild all from zero here? This is the problem. Despite drag and dropping a GLB file into a scene and building stuff there being a legit architectural decision, it is an inadequate workflow decision. Imagine you need a skeleton change. That's a different GLB file, my friend, and you need to export the skeleton and retie it to your model again. Imagine you change to your visual model. You need to re-import and retie the visuals, and you aren't doing it only via parenting. There are links in the script, so God forbid your skeleton on model providers renamed something. This situation is called a shitty pipeline, and while having shitty idea, design, architecture, mechanics, graphics and monetization leads to a shitty game being released, having shitty pipelines lead to a game not being released at all. What do we do then? Return to the start, please. A GLB file with animation is a resource container. It contains good view part and a good model part without the controller. And what we do with good resource containers is we unpack them. Now how do we divide this treasure? Well, what do you think when I tell you we need a punch move in our game? My instant association is a collision sphere pinned to the wrist of our model, and I hope it follows the skeleton and not the visual mesh, yes? So Skelly certainly goes to the model and takes animation player with him. What left are two array meshes that represent our Xbot. Look closely. All they need to work is a link to a skeleton somewhere in the tree. Let's give it to them by providing a link to the skeleton in our model and an assignment method in our view. To demonstrate you our animations are working, I'll tell the model to animate on the start. Lo and behold, our 3D mesh obeys the command. So the only thing our view is doing right now is being a node 3D and following parent movement. The behavior of the presentation layer didn't change only because we changed the capsule 3D model to a human 3D model. And if you'd really think, why should it? Now let's think of where we want to change our animations. The animation name is clearly a state field, so our base move gets its first variable. On the other hand, if you have an animation per state, the in-state code doesn't change it, so we are using this field in the container when states are switched. Everyone likes zoom in, so first create a new state for a sprint. Sprint's code is mirroring the run with an exception of having a different speed. But don't alarm yourself too much about this code duplication. We will probably have a stamina resource to burn in the future and an attack that can be invoked from the sprint but can't from a simple run. The sprint was a training. Now let's talk about the jump. We want a beast of a jump and not some schoolboy's first 3D game impression, aren't we? Let's count our states. We have idle, running and sprint movement state. And it would be cool if they had 3 different jump starts, yes? Then we want a midair animation to play while player didn't start to touch floor. Then it'd be cool if all 3 landing animations were different. Oof. Let's trim our work a bit and say our run isn't so fast and is used more like a walk. So run and idle can have one jump start and adjust animation with different physics. Then if so, let's give them a single landing too. But already 8 states in total. And their relationships are starting to perplex. Jumps transition to midair and midair wants different landings afterwards. And all movement states are better be able to transition to midair in case of falling somewhere without a jump. We won't be able to support this for long without any form of organization outside of our head. And it's only a single action of jumping. What to do? Well, we clearly have a case of everyone to everyone relation in pairs. I know a structure that looks like that. It's a table. Create a table that has all your states as columns and rows indexes. Then in the cells of said table we can store the information about transitional logic from, let's say, our row number state to our column number state. Quickly note that some transition can happen at all. For example, from midair to idle without landing. Now we need to carefully thought out and document every transition. You can use the cells content, but I prefer comments to save my table schematic readability. I won't do it all on camera, resource links are in the description. Now let's talk about our input logic. Remember our action per state philosophy from the first video, but we have 2 jumps and only 1 jump button, and what to do? Welcome to the first example of input validation. Godot has no access modifiers, so be careful not to check your model fields. You are an input man now, and all you know are buttons and action names. Behold, jump action turns into a sprint jump if sprint is also present, or it turns into a run jump if no sprint found. And final step before mass states production starts. I am about to create 5 heirs of a move class. And each of them will always have these functions. Now learn while I'm alive. Create a folder somewhere and call it templates. Now navigate to your project advanced setting, then editor, then script. Choose newly created folder as templates search folder. Now create there a GDScript file and call something like state template. This won't be a valid script. This will be my move air template, the boilerplate code that will save me some time and will remind me how to use my own systems, even if I'll stop this project and return after a month remembering nothing. Now let's talk about transition logic. The jump transition has an interesting behavior. It just lingers. It literally just waits for some time and then automatically transitions to the middle state. First thing I want to highlight is we will probably face lots of similar behavior, so the logic must be implemented in the base move. Second thing to highlight is an absolute horror of using any reference to skeleton animation inside a state to manage its behavior. Just don't. Instead, I want to show you some alien technologies. Disclaimer: the shit you'll see next is not basic at all, but it's one of the most elegant Godot usages I ever saw. First, I want to illustrate some behaviors related to animations in a temporary refresh scene. Case 1. Create an animation with a single boolean flag that flips the value for each 0.03 times period. Now in the physics update function, I want to check this boolean for some logic. Launch the scene a couple of times.
Oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Yep. Imagine building something competitive with this functional. Case 2. Let's call some functions in a strict order. Imagine yourself a visual programming enjoyer for a second. Our first function will be called when animation is started, and then the second one will be called from the next code string. Huh. Catastrophe. The cause is very obvious. Our first string doesn't call shit, it calls for an asynchronous animation processing sometime in the future. I want to seed a very important thought in your head. I don't want you to think of demonstrated failures as of our mistakes as programmers to count on asynchronous code in search of deterministic behavior or not knowing Godot good enough. I also don't want you to think that it's a Godot's failure to provide the right functional. The Godot is fine and its animation framework is fine. In fact, Godot knows its animation framework is a part of global presentation layer and, as intended, the presentation is the last of try to be processed in the frame. The root cause of these failures is our mistake of trying to place our simulation logic in the global presentation segment. And we committed it as architects and not as programmers. But look at the interface. Isn't it gorgeous? Think of something like chargeable interruptible heavy attack. It has as its fields percentage of charge power, tracking window, input locking window, voice window, damage window, counter-attack vulnerability window, window of comboing into second hit, and God knows what else. Don't you feel almost sexual arousal when you think of ability to use this as your internal logic? Well, remind me, what is an animation from the computer's perspective? Isn't it just a lot of data? Isn't it just a function that takes time as an argument and returns value of absurd parameter for the time? Time is pretty deterministic. There must be a method for getting deterministic results of a function. Observe. All we need to do is to get one level lower. I set for myself a humble goal of videos having at least not lower than previous quality, and I can't support this level for a 30 minutes video, so today's is over with just 3 animations. But I hope I left you with some food for thought, and the next episode will be absolutely epic as we set our project in a way we are able to start printing those states faster than inflation hits. Bye.